But the difference is it was going so well.
Yeah.
And governor support and all of this. And
I got masses of publicity.
Now you explained it to me. That had to do with they didn't want to in Prince
The
George's
university
County.
lost its. They didn't have an appetite anymore to be with Prince George's County. And when Glendenning was in, you would expect it. Now it's had fits and starts ever since then. I think if they do negotiate a new mixed use concept with the city, I think that'd be a nice kick. We're not in the housing boom anymore, so it'll be a reasonable.
Sure.
Construction. But I think it'd be a nice business center.
Sure, John, and the employment center. The whole idea from the beginning when I was around there, we anticipated 10,000 employees. And now the first thing there was the biggest computer in the world.
Well, that's the Census Bureau. So.
The largest computer.
Well,
Well, the Census Bureau was not the first.
Yeah.
You know the
some super secret deal where they shoot you if you go inside the gate.
Oh, okay.
That's over there because my kids always used to get yelled at when they went by there.
Oh yeah, you can, and of course they've got security guards, and they have. I've been in the building, and in my business you can do those things, you know. But anyway, John, the windows were those type that you couldn't hear through. From strong sensors from your home, or nearby people, I mean. That's one of the spy things.
Oh.
So that building is still pretty good kept secret, but it's still functioning. And the computer there was the largest in the world at the time. And then they put a second one in next to it that was 10 times as large as that one.
Now it's probably a little desktop model.
It may be now. And if you count the employees there, I counted them, there was about 75 to 100 in that building. I didn't count them, but estimated, you know.
Well, so what do you think that will become mixed use?
I think it's going to be a mixed use.
If there's no other alternative.
And it's and I think it's a good. It's what your really nice communities now are. Anyways, you want to have a mixture of be able to walk to work. The downtown Baltimore concept.
Oh yeah.
It's just the Annapolis concept. They're going with the high rises down there.
Well, look at Parole Plaza now. I was talking to a former Bowieite who just bought an apartment in the Parole Plaza complex.
Main Street almost.
Yeah.
The National Harbor's picked up as an international kind of address in Prince George's County now, and it's just. I think the next things you're going to see, maybe not in maybe another 10 years to have it happen, is the metro stations blossom. It's been a terrible waste of our 20 metro stations we have in Prince George's County. We've had new vertical development on them. A lot of it's been inflicted. I hate to blame other people, but a lot
Bowie
of
should have a metro station.
Yeah. Well, that was opposed though. If you
I know.
remember the history. But and eventually, I've heard talk of there being rapid rail all the way to the Parole Center down 50. There's been some discussion of that. The new Carrollton is just about ready to go into its component. They're tearing down all the residential communities north of the new Carrollton station.
I haven't been there in ages.
Assembled, and it's about 40 to 50 acres of land that's been assembled. It's going to be a residential area, which is high-rise apartments and condos.
Yeah.
So it should be exciting. That's a generation of the county's development and growth that's going to be. It's great because you bring in high-income people, pay a lot of taxes, they don't have any kids, or very few kids. You call them dinks, dual income, no kids. And there's such a great revenue generator for the government, and you don't have to pay for their school kids, which is the most important thing a government does. But, so I think that's going to be an exciting time. The politics here, though, it's been a maturation process. It's been an evolution where I've seen some really bad things happen, and I've seen guys and gals get caught and in trouble, and that's good. And it's good for everybody to know that if you do bad things, if you ask for kickbacks or any of that stuff, you're going to get caught.
Right.
And but in that process, a lot of eggshells get broken sometimes when you're going through it, and we've got to be particularly careful in the development community because there is so much money that is made in that business.
Sure.
There's a lot of temptation, so you got to try to be Caesar's wife as much as you can. But
I don't know. I look back at your former boss, Paris Glendenning, and others. I just see more interesting politics there than I see now.
Oh, you look at Frank Francoises of the
Oh,
world.
Frank
Yeah.
Francois was
Royal
marvelous.
Hearts
Yes.
of the world. You got
Yeah.
really people of brilliance in elective office.
You don't see that on the county council anymore.
It's evolved when you lose, well, when you go to a local district, which
Right.
has many good things about it, but when you lose that ability to put forward a team, the machine, if you will, when you lose that, if it all boils down to you go raise 30 grand yourself and knock on a lot of doors, and anybody can get elected.
Sure.
Which is pretty much what it is.
Yes,
right
that's
now.
pretty much what it is right now.
It's, and so but there's some capable young people on the council that are coming along. Term limits are going to do what they do. It's going to make others folks go off in the sunset.
I've always been of the belief that there has always been a built-in term limit mandate. It's called an election.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yes, if you think that really works, but I've seen it on the other side where they just hang in, and you're going, good Lord, please, it's time. You know, it's time for you to go. You've lost your
Well, we have
seal.
that in the U.S. House of Representatives and the Senate.
Well,
Sure.
when you lose your zest for it, you ought to get down the road.
Yes.
But because it's just so hard to be an elected official, to be a city councilman, or be a congressman, or be anything, that you got to listen to people all the time, and that's really what the job is.
Well, do you see changes on the horizon in next year's election? Do you think people are going to say, hey, wait a minute, time for change? Do you see maybe that machine dwindling?
I think the machine, the Democratic Party today is really the African American churches. That's the clarity of this, and that's great. It moved from here to there. You know, it used to be firehouses. Now it's at African American churches where you go and you do your alliance building there, and preachers don't pick people, but they assemble those to view them, and that's good. That's what democracy is. It's just in a different room. It's not.
Well, there is the little thing about the separation of church and state, which sometimes seems to not quite equate to this.
Well, we Catholics have a hard time with that too sometimes. But and it's again, it's a caution. But I've observed. I'm not how the pastors work. They don't do a they don't do a laying of hands on people. They bring you into the forum, and then you've got to sell yourself to the congregation, which is good. Now I think there's a degree of ethics that's being advanced that's good. It's post Watergate ethics, but I think it's when you come out of a church environment, you have certain types of ethics that you bring to the table, and I think it's good. What the county execs race is going to look like, I haven't. I mean, there's three contenders. There's Glenn Ivey, Rashawn Baker, and Michael Jackson, and each one has his own strengths. I mean, one of them's kid was on a Broadway musical. That's something to talk about, Glenn's.
Yeah.
But how they would govern, that's a little trickier.
Well, I hope the sheriff, should he win, will govern better than he did the people who raided the mayor of Colmar Manor's house and shot his dogs.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, it's very tough. Made the front page of the Washington Post magazine.
It's tough when it's one thing to make a mistake. It's another to look like you're silly.
Exactly.
And that's tough, especially when you got guys that you serve carry guns and stuff. That's a tough road. Michael, though, on the other hand, he's doing the church routine and
is he really
being out there and pressing the flush. I think there's a need for more of a collegiality between the county executive and the county council.
Oh, definitely.
Which hasn't happened in decades.
No, not the slightest, no way.
Not since Curry practiced it, Glendenning practiced it. Kelly was a master of it.
Kelly was excellent at it.
But you got to share power. Power, you don't have power. It's just on one floor, and there's the rest of the teams on the next floor. If you don't share power, nothing happens.
Well, Johnson gives the impression of utterly disdaining the council.
And he found out what that reaps.
Yes, indeed.
You don't do precedent-setting things without the council. It's their game. In the end of the whole world, execs got the limo, council's got the power. And in terms of how this charter is written, and it's good. You should have it that way. The guy that has the limo gets the limo, and police driver or whatever he gets now, and you got to share that.
Well, term limits, we're going to take care of some of that, as you said.